So a lot of decisions are being made about the boosters. Our 9 Health expert, Dr. Payal Kholi, is back with us. We continue to talk about this. Now, last night, the FDA approved the booster expansion for people 65 plus and high-risk people. They don't define what high risk is. That seems to still be a little bit of a slippery term.
It is, Tom, and I think part of that is actually intentional to allow both patients and physicians to really have a discussion if they believe that they're high risk. Now, high risk being either because of their underlying medical problems or actually from the FDA's perspective because of occupational exposure, like frontline workers. But the CDC Advisory Committee disagrees. They only think the high risk should be reserved for people who are 50 and above, and they don't believe that the frontline workers are really those that would qualify for a booster.
How much does that concern you when the CDC and FDA can't get together on a message or have different opinions about things? Because I think the public sees that as uncertainty.
Well, I would say I was a little surprised that they didn't align a little bit more. And I can understand that this will create mixed messaging because you have one regulatory agency saying something and another one advising something else. But I think the clear message here is that the science does not support boosters for everybody.
Right.
The science supports boosters for a select population. The other part of this is, what are we trying to prevent? Are we trying to prevent infection altogether? Are we just trying to prevent people from getting super sick? And that may be part of what's guiding those different decisions.
And when we talk about boosters, all the conversation surrounds Pfizer. They're on deck next. But what about people who've had Moderna or J&J shots? When will they be on board?
Oh, not soon enough from my perspective, because
Right.
I'm one of the Moderna camps, and I'm really frustrated because your eligibility for a booster should not be determined upon which one you got initially, which brand you got. It should depend on your underlying medical conditions, your health problems, your exposure risk, etc. So I'm really hoping that the CDC, FDA wake up and start moving on this because they have the data. It's just a matter of reviewing it.
What about mixing and matching? We've talked about this before. Is that an option? Say you are someone who's had a Moderna shot. Would you consider Pfizer as a booster, or is that something that they've even looked at?
They have looked at it, not in the US, but we have good data out of Europe. So from Europe, we have the AstraZeneca shot, which is like our Pfizer shot, followed by the AstraZeneca shot, which is like J&J, followed by the Pfizer shot. And you can see if you take a DNA with a messenger RNA, you can actually boost the antibodies 9-fold with that mixing strategy. And it seems to be safe. Now we can extrapolate that data to J&J, but I think the question you're asking is a really important one, which is that individuals who got J&J and Moderna and are particularly high risk or have high exposures may want to go to their doctors and start talking to them about what their doctor feels is a reasonable strategy in terms of getting a Pfizer booster.
Will doctors have that information, though? I mean, is there a study that they can point to and say this does work or this will work or is safe?
They don't, and I think that's where the regulatory agencies really need to compel the U.S. companies to create that study. Because we have that information out of Europe, we can extrapolate it to here, but it's really not as good as having the real science. So I think until you ask a company whose incentive obviously is to study their own vaccine to mix and match, we may not get that data, which we desperately need.
Okay, well, hopefully that's coming as well. We'll keep an eye on it. All right, thanks as always, Dr. Payal Kholi.